Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Freshman, are you sure you've made up your mind? Mr. Hughes asked. The conditions on the battlefield are harsh, and you'll be facing life-threatening danger at any moment. I nodded firmly. Mr. Hughes, don't worry. I've thought it through. He let out a long sigh, and behind his lenses, his eyes were filled with complicated emotions. He adjusted his glasses, pulled out a yellowed craft paper document from his drawer, and handed it to me. This is the agreement for the International Medical Relief Team. Once you sign it, you can't go back on your decision. Someone will come pick you up afterward. I took the pen without a moment of hesitation and signed my name in the signature box, each stroke sharp and forceful, as if cutting through the life I had lived up until now. After signing, I walked out of Mr. Hughes's office. The afternoon sunlight was a bit blinding. I lowered my head and looked at my slightly rounded belly, feeling momentarily dazed. In my previous life, I had married Andrew Collins when I was 20. He was stationed far away with the military, and I stayed home alone, spinning like a tireless top, taking care of his frail, sickly parents and our daughter who had been spoiled rotten. Later, he came home with a young woman named Rachel Foster. Resting lazily against her shoulder, he announced to me, "This is Rachel. She saved my life. She's a benefactor to our whole family. Emily, you should treat her well." The hidden meaning behind "treat her well" was something I only came to understand gradually. It meant yielding. It meant enduring in silence. It meant handing over everything that should have belonged to me. Rachel was beautiful and gentle, and she was highly capable in her work. Andrew soon used his connections to find her a job as his personal secretary. From that moment on, they were together every single day, their figures practically glued to each other. People who didn't know the truth all assumed they were the real couple. Some even praised them as a perfect match. Mr. and Mrs. Collins were easily coaxed into joy, smiling brighter for her than they had ever done for me. One evening after dinner, I was washing dishes in the kitchen, my hands soaked in cold water, when I accidentally overheard Mrs. Collins in the living room, holding Rachel's hand affectionately. With eyes full of fondness, she praised her, saying, "If only Rachel were my daughter-in-law. She and Andrew are such a perfect pair. It's just a pity they met too late." Rachel let out a playful, charming smile, but her gaze shot toward me like a poisoned needle, full of triumph. Even our daughter became her most loyal supporter, convinced that I, her own mother, couldn't compare to Rachel in anything. She once pointed at my face and screamed, "What era is this? Who still has arranged marriages? You and Dad never should have been together. You don't deserve him." Then, muttering just loud enough for me to hear, she added, "I wish Aunt Rachel were my mom instead." Later, Rachel and I were kidnapped together by Andrew's enemies. When Andrew rushed in, the kidnapper sneered and told him he could only choose one of us to take away. A gunshot rang out. A sharp pain exploded in my chest, and I collapsed into a spreading pool of cold blood. In my final line of sight, I saw him shielding her tightly beneath him without the slightest hesitation. My thoughts snapped back. My hands trembled as I placed them over my belly. At this point in time, I was 2 months pregnant. Since my child had been so desperate not to have me as a mother, then in this life I would grant that wish. I went to the hospital. Cold instruments, white walls, and the doctor's regretful expressions surrounded me. When the doctor learned I wanted to terminate the pregnancy, he even tried earnestly to persuade me otherwise. Seeing how firm my attitude was and how there wasn't a trace of hesitation in my eyes, the doctor had no choice but to drop the matter. In this life, I would never again allow anyone from the Collins family to become an obstacle to my rebirth. I absolutely would not let my past repeat itself. It wouldn't be long before the day Andrew Collins brought Rachel Foster home. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. The physical pain was nothing compared to the lightness in my heart. When I returned to the Collins house, Mrs. Collins immediately rushed up, her face full of impatience. She demanded to know where I had gone. I casually told her I had been at the hospital doing an internship with my professor. The moment she heard that, her face darkened and her voice sharpened. "You're already married. You should be home taking care of us. Stop thinking about running to the hospital all day. What's the point of learning any of that? It's not like you'll ever become a doctor. A woman's virtue lies in not having talent." But I clearly remembered she never said anything like that to Rachel. For Rachel, she praised her as a modern, independent woman with ambition. Unlike certain people who only knew how to rely on men, her double standards were truly complete. A few days later, the day Andrew brought Rachel home finally arrived. But I didn't foolishly stay at home waiting for him like before. Instead, I went to the hospital to make my final preparations for leaving. By the time I got home, it was already dark dinner time. It was New Year's Eve. Every year in the past, I spent the entire day in the kitchen from morning until night preparing the holiday feast all on my own. But this year, since they couldn't reach me, even Mrs. Collins had taken matters into her own hands and cooked a table full of dishes. The food was still steaming, rich with mouth-watering aromas. "So you do know how to come back?" Mrs. Collins poked her head out of the kitchen, shooting me an annoyed glare. Mr. Collins quickly tried to smooth things over beside her, speaking quietly. "Come sit. Let's eat." I sat down next to Andrew, the seat that once made my heart race. Now it felt nothing but cold. There wasn't much left inside me that could be shaken anymore. He pointed at the sweetly smiling Rachel beside him and introduced her. "This is Rachel, my lifesaver." I only nodded, picked up my chopsticks, and prepared to eat as if he were introducing some irrelevant stranger. He seemed choked by my indifference. After pausing, he continued, "Emily, Rachel doesn't know anyone here, so she needs to stay with us for now. You should treat her well." I picked up a glossy piece of braised pork and placed it into my bowl, chewing slowly. Then I lifted my gaze and met his slightly awkward eyes. Rachel spoke up before he could say anything else. "Andrew, you don't need to trouble Emily. I'll take care of everyone from now on. You know my abilities. I'll take good care of your parents. Don't worry." She gave Andrew a soft, charming smile, her eyes unable to hide her pride and possessiveness. "Oh my, you really know how to talk. The more I look at you, the more I like you," Mrs. Collins said, instantly delighted. "Eat some more fish. I bought fresh wild bass especially for you today." She picked up a piece of the snowy fish meat and moved to place it into Rachel's bowl, but Andrew quickly reached out with his chopsticks and stopped her. "Mom, Rachel doesn't eat cilantro." Mrs. Collins looked down and noticed a small bit of green cilantro on the fish. "Oh, look at my memory. Then you eat this piece. I'll get a clean one without cilantro for Rachel." I watched the three of them so harmonious. They could have been a real family. While I felt like an awkward outsider who had stumbled into someone else's holiday gathering, it was truly unpleasant. Perhaps sensing something off, Andrew tried to ease the tension. He picked up a bright red shrimp from a platter and placed it into my bowl. "Emily, you've worked hard this whole year taking care of the house and my parents. I made these shrimp myself. Try one." I stared at the innocent shrimp in my bowl without touching it, then looked at his face, so sure he was being considerate, and found it laughably ridiculous. When he saw I wasn't moving, the smile on his face stiffened. "What's wrong, Emily?" "I'm allergic to shrimp. You didn't know." My voice wasn't loud, but it was like a stone dropped into a calm lake, sending ripples everywhere. He froze completely, his hand holding the chopstick suspended midair. Mrs. Collins immediately broke the silence, her voice sharp and grating. "How can anyone be so picky? Allergic or not, back in the day, people wanted to eat things like this and couldn't. It's New Year's Eve. Don't ruin the mood." Her tone toward me and the gentleness she had just shown Rachel were like two entirely different people. Such blatant double standards. In my previous life, I had actually worked myself to the bone for 5 years, taking care of Andrew's sick mother, swallowing every grievance for this man. I really must have been sick beyond help. With a loud snap, I threw my chopsticks down and stood up, my cold gaze locked straight onto Mrs. Collins. I spoke slowly, each word crystal clear. "Since you're uneducated, let me teach you something. If you force someone to eat a food you know they're allergic to, and it leads to anaphylactic shock and death, then legally that counts as intentional homicide." "Emily Collins, how dare you talk to your mother like that?" Mr. Collins, who had been pretending to be invisible all this time, finally couldn't hold back. He slammed the table and barked, "Apologize to your mother right now." I let out a laugh, one so bitter that it nearly brought tears to my eyes. "My mother? What mother?" "My mother died a long time ago, and if I remember correctly, she died because of you." The moment the words left my mouth, Mr. Collins's expression went blank. All the color drained from his face, and he sat back down like a deflated balloon, silent. I didn't want to deal with this bizarre family another second. I turned to leave, but suddenly a strong hand grabbed my wrist. It was Andrew. "Emily, apologize," he ordered, anger burning in his eyes. I yanked my hand free and met his gaze without fear. "What? After all this time, you really think I'm your family's lifelong servant? Did the era of social progress skip over your house entirely?" Several shocked faces whipped toward me all at once. Before, I had always been obedient, submissive, never speaking up like this. But right now I was furious. Furious for all the years I had allowed myself to be trampled. Furious at the foolish woman I had been in my past life. Their stunned expressions didn't surprise me at all. I ignored every complicated emotion behind me, left the table, and went straight to my room, slamming the door shut and shutting them all out. A few hours later, the noise outside finally died down, and a soft knock sounded at my door. I got up and opened it. Andrew stood there, tall and shadowed in the hallway light, holding a cup of warm milk. He offered it to me. "Emily, I just heated some milk. Drink a little." "I don't need it." "You drink it." I tried to close the door, but he reached out and stopped it, his face showing a trace of exhaustion and helplessness. "Don't be petty," he said quietly. "You need to take care of your health. For the sake of the child you're carrying, we went too far today. I'm apologizing on their behalf." The moment he said the word child, a sharp sting pierced my heart. I lowered my head, glancing at my now flat stomach, and a bitter smile tugged at my lips, so faint no one would ever notice. "Andrew." I had just opened my mouth when a crisp, excited voice cut me off. "Andrew, they're lighting fireworks outside. Come play with me, okay?" Rachel bounced out from behind him like a colorful butterfly, pointing eagerly at the brilliant fireworks bursting across the night sky. Andrew hesitated for a moment, a brief flicker of struggle crossing his face, then turned to her and nodded with a softness I had never once heard directed at me. "Okay. I'll take you to see the fireworks." Rachel cheered happily when she heard the answer she wanted and rushed off to grab her coat. Andrew followed her toward the door, but suddenly turned back as if remembering something. He looked at me, hesitating. "Emily, do you want to come with us?" Rachel immediately tugged unhappily at his sleeve, whining. "Andrew, don't bring Emily. She's pregnant right now. There are fireworks and firecrackers outside. What if something explodes near her? It wouldn't be good." He looked at me, then at Rachel, torn. In the end, he agreed with her. "She's right." I shook my head calmly. "Go have fun." A flicker of guilt crossed his face. "Then rest well at home. Your mom said you're due for a prenatal checkup. I'll go with you tomorrow morning." Before I could respond, Rachel eagerly dragged him out the door, pulling him into the night. Back in my room, just as I sat down, I received a message from Mr. Hughes. "Emily, I've submitted your name. You'll be joining Dr. Morris's medical rescue team. It's winter there now. Make sure you prepare some warm clothing in advance." The next day, I slept in for once, waking up past 10. When I opened my door, the house was completely empty. So quiet it felt unreal. I found something simple in the fridge to eat, then got ready to head to the mall to buy myself a decent winter coat. After reading Mr. Hughes's message the night before, I had checked my closet and realized that after all these years, I had barely bought any clothes for myself. I had always felt sorry for how hard Andrew worked for his salary. I budgeted every bit of money he gave me for the house, rarely buying anything for myself. Thinking about it now, it was laughable. Around noon, I took a cab to the most upscale mall downtown and headed straight to the outdoor apparel section. But just as I stepped inside, a sweet, excited voice rang out. "Wow, this dress is so pretty." I turned toward the sound. It was Rachel with Andrew standing beside her. They were still wearing the same clothes from yesterday. It looked like they hadn't even come home last night. Rachel was holding a cream-colored lace-fitted dress, holding it against herself in front of the mirror. The design hugged her figure perfectly. "Andrew, do I look good in this?" Andrew stood beside her, eyes filled with admiration, and nodded without hesitation. "It looks great." Rachel put on a shy expression and stuck out her tongue. "But isn't it too expensive?" "It's over $8,000. Andrew chuckled, reached into his pocket and pulled out his bank card, handing it directly to the sales associate. Wrap it up. The saleswoman beamed as she took the card, then turned to Rachel with open envy. Your husband treats you so well. Everything fell into my sight without missing a single detail. In that moment, I suddenly remembered that from the day I met Andrew until now, after all these years, he had never once taken the initiative to buy me anything, not even a single lipstick. The moment he finished paying and turned around to see me standing at the entrance, the smile on his face instantly froze. Emily, why are you here? A trace of panic flashed through his eyes, and suddenly I felt like playing along to see just how far he could act. I lifted my wrist and glanced at my watch, speaking in a calm voice. Didn't you say you'd take me to my prenatal checkup? I waited for you all morning, but you didn't come home all night, so I had to come out and look for you. His face went pale instantly like a punctured balloon. He hurried to explain. Emily, don't misunderstand. After the fireworks last night, it got too late. We were worried we'd wake you all up if we came back, so we stayed out for the night. Yes, Emily, please don't overthink it, Rachel chimed in quickly. She lifted the elegant shopping bag in her hand. This dress, Andrew bought it as a gift for me starting my new job. He helped me find a position as his assistant. You don't mind, do you? She tilted her head, eyes wide with faux innocence, but I could clearly hear the thick provocation hidden beneath her words. I smiled, though the smile never reached my eyes. Why would I mind? You're his lifesaver. It's only right. Upon hearing that, Andrew exhaled in relief, smiling at me with a gratified expression. I knew you'd understand. You've always been so generous. Looking at his hypocritical face, I felt it was utterly ridiculous. I'll take Rachel home first, he said anxiously, eager to make things right. Then I'll take you to the hospital. We walked to the underground parking lot. Rachel practically skipped forward, heading straight for the passenger seat. She opened the door with practiced ease, sliding in as naturally as if she had done it 100 times. Andrew started the engine. Seeing me still standing outside, he leaned over and called out, Emily, get in. I glanced at the back seat. It was piled high with bags of all shapes and sizes, leaving almost no place to sit. Andrew followed my gaze and froze, then hurriedly unbuckled his seatbelt and scrambled out to clear the space. Oh, look at my memory. I forgot Andrew bought me so many things today. The whole back seat is full. I told him I didn't need this much, but he insisted I lacked this and lacked that. Sometimes I really can't win against him. Rachel sounded like she was complaining, but every word was a blatant show-off. For a split second, even I felt a strange illusion, like I was the one who didn't belong here, like I was the third wheel. When Andrew finally finished clearing the bags, he stood in front of me looking a bit embarrassed. Emily, after your checkup, I'll go shopping with you too. It's almost New Year. You should get some new clothes. I didn't know whether he said that out of guilt or something else entirely, but there wasn't a trace of warmth in my heart. I opened the car door and sat down without expression. Let's go. On the way back, Rachel never stopped chatting in the front seat, her voice bright and chirpy like a happy little lark. Occasionally, Andrew would tease her, making her burst into laughter. But after each laugh, he would suddenly remember that I was sitting behind them, and he would awkwardly restrain his smile again. Through the rearview mirror, Andrew glanced at me once, then continued chatting with Rachel about memories only the two of them shared. Their time in the military base, the comrades who had passed away. Those shared experiences formed a barrier that shut me firmly outside their world. As we drove past the city amusement park, Rachel suddenly said, Andrew, do you remember when we first met? I told you I had never been to an amusement park before. You said that if we ever had the chance, you'd definitely take me. Andrew kept one hand on the steering wheel, but still turned his head slightly, nodding to her with a gentle promise. Okay, when we have time, I'll take you. And Andrew, I want to climb the snowy mountains someday to see the sunrise on the Golden Summit. Okay, I'll go with you. And Andrew, tonight I want to eat roast duck from that famous place in the south of the city. All right, I'll go buy it for you tonight. It was only in that moment that I realized Andrew was actually capable of being this gentle, this attentive, this accommodating, someone who would grant any request. This side of him I had never seen. I hadn't even known it existed. Thinking back on all the excuses I used to make for his coldness, for the distance he kept from me, all of them felt like loud ringing slaps across my own face. Every shared smile, Every exchanged glance between them felt like a silent mockery, laughing at how ridiculous I looked sitting there. Rachel turned around from the front seat, her face full of pretend embarrassment. Emily, I'm so sorry, we were chatting and totally forgot you were here. Andrew and I are just always like this. Don't take it to heart. When we got home, Mr. and Mrs. Collins had already returned. The moment Mrs. Collins saw me, she launched straight into criticism. You're pregnant. Why are you still running around everywhere? It's fine if something happens to you, but don't you dare let anything happen to my grandbaby. Mr. Collins joined in as well. Emily, stop thinking about being a doctor. You're just not cut out for it. Just stay home, raise the baby, and take care of us. Stop with all this nonsense. Andrew was at the entrance changing his shoes. Hearing their words, he chimed in immediately. Yeah, Emily, listen to Mom and Dad. Don't go to the hospital anymore. A woman doesn't need to work to live well. I glanced past him toward Rachel, then looked back at him, my voice cold. Oh, then why did you go out of your way to find a job for Rachel? He stiffened for a second, then replied as if it were perfectly reasonable. Rachel isn't like you. She's more independent, and her job is to be my assistant. She can stay with me all the time. It's convenient for us to look after each other. Then why don't I be your assistant? I asked. The living room fell into complete silence. Everyone froze, their expressions a spectacular mix of shock. What's wrong? I continued, pressing him step by step. We're legally married. If I'm your assistant and stay with you every day, isn't that even more appropriate? More legitimate? Emily, stop messing around. Andrew frowned tightly, his face full of helpless frustration. Messing around? I laughed coldly. Am I the one messing around, or are all of you putting on a show? Emily. Rachel suddenly spoke up, her voice trembling. Are you mad at me because Andrew takes care of me? If you really dislike me that much, I'll just leave. She had been silent as a mouse the whole time, but now her eyes instantly reddened, tears falling almost on command. She bent down pitifully to grab her bag and turned as if to leave. Both Andrew and Mrs. Collins reacted immediately. Andrew and Mrs. Collins reacted instantly like two startled cats, rushing forward to grab Rachel before she could step out. Rachel, don't go. This has nothing to do with you. Mrs. Collins clutched her tightly. Andrew, I don't want to ruin your family, Rachel said, voice trembling, tears falling like pear blossoms in the rain. I know Emily hates me. I'll just leave. Andrew held her hand in a death grip while turning his head toward me, giving me a commanding look, ordering me to nod, to deny what Rachel said, to soothe the situation the way I used to. I smiled. The curve of my lips carried a cold, cutting mockery. Sorry, I meant exactly what I said. Andrew froze. Shock washed over his face, mixed with disbelief and disappointment. Emily, what's wrong with you? You were never like this before. I didn't want to waste another breath on him. Andrew Collins, let's get a divorce since you can't bear to part with your precious lifesaver. Rachel, I'll return your freedom. I'll make things easy for you. A loud crash split the room as Mr. Collins slammed his purple clay teacup onto the floor, shattering it into pieces. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. If you two get divorced, what will the neighbors think of us? Where will the Collins family put our pride? You want to leave? I'd like to see where you go after leaving our family. And you're pregnant. No decent family will want a woman like you afterward. Mrs. Collins, still holding Rachel's hand like she was her own daughter, burst into hysterics. Emily, don't be ridiculous. Don't throw your life away. Think about the baby. Think about our grandchild. I glanced at her distorted face, her shrill voice drilling into my ears, making my head pound. Andrew, hearing his parents' words, suddenly seemed to find them very reasonable. The panic on his face faded slightly. Yeah, Emily, where would you go if you left us? Stop talking nonsense. And you still have our child in you. Don't ruin your whole life on impulse. He let go of Rachel and reached toward me, trying to pull me closer, trying to comfort me with the same patronizing tone he always used. Thinking his logic could calm me down, I stepped back sharply, putting a clean, cold distance between us. Your child? You still dream of me willingly giving the Collins family an heir, then spending the rest of my life as some maidservant taking care of all of you? Even a servant in the old days had a better life than the one you expect of me. Their eyes widened, but I didn't give them time to speak. I've already gotten rid of the baby, so stop daydreaming. I reached into my bag, pulled out the folded abortion report, and tossed it directly toward them. The thin paper fluttered to the floor. Mrs. Collins scrambled forward, grabbing it with trembling hands. As she read the words on the page, her face drained of all color. She clutched her chest, pointing at me, too furious to speak. "Emily, how dare you get rid of my grandchild? How dare you?" "Because the baby was inside my body," I said calmly. "That's why." Then my gaze sharpened like a blade as it slid toward Rachel, the same woman who seconds ago had looked so weak, so fragile she seemed moments from fainting. "You all want a grandchild so badly, don't you? Then let Miss Rachel give you one." "Emily, stop talking nonsense. I'm not in that kind of relationship with Rachel," Andrew barked, face flushing red. "Oh right," I said with a light laugh. "I almost forgot. I accidentally heard a while ago that Miss Rachel can't get pregnant because of her health. So yes, I guess she really can't give the Collins family a child. In my previous life, I had discovered that by accident in Andrew's study. I had once seen Rachel's medical exam report. It clearly stated congenital uterine maldevelopment. The flawless mask Andrew always wore finally split open. He stared at me in disbelief, his voice trembling. "How do you know about that?" When Mrs. Collins heard those words, the last bit of hope in her eyes shattered. She collapsed onto the floor, wailing hysterically. Only then did Mr. Collins and Andrew truly believe I wasn't lying. Andrew snatched the abortion report from his mother's hands. His lips parted, but no sound came out. The paper crumpled in his tightening grip. After a long moment, he finally squeezed out a broken, You really got rid of it." Mr. Collins's vision went dark from rage, and he collapsed to the ground, clutching his chest. He grabbed his cane and slammed it against the floor over and over. "This family is cursed. Cursed." Amid the chaos, I calmly pulled my suitcase, packed long ago, toward the door. Andrew snapped back to his senses and rushed over, blocking my way. "Emily, stop it. Okay, you got rid of the baby. I'll put that aside for now. Let's go home and talk." His shamelessness was almost laughable. "Andrew," I said coldly, "was I really so meek before that you think you can talk to me like this? Be this self-righteous, this shameless? I'm the one saying I want a divorce. I'm not the one begging you for forgiveness." I reached into my bag and took out another document, one I had prepared a long time ago, and slammed it hard against his chest. "I've already signed the divorce papers. You should sign them soon. Don't delay my new life. I don't want to have even the slightest connection to you, or to your entire family ever again." It was as if only in that moment, he finally woke up from his fantasy world. He finally realized I was serious. But this wasn't some emotional tactic or attempt to get attention. He blocked me again, panic filling his eyes. I shoved him away with all the strength I had, years of resentment erupting at once. "Andrew, are you stupid? You married me only because my mother saved your father's life. You wanted to repay a debt. You never loved me. So what are you pretending for now, huh? And once we divorce, you and your precious Rachel can finally be together openly. You should be thanking me." "Emily, you misunderstood," he stammered weakly. "Rachel and it's only because she saved my life. She has no one else in this world. I felt responsible for her. That's all. Just responsibility." Right then, Rachel appeared at the doorway, pale and fragile, having clearly overheard everything. She stood behind him, stiff as a statue, her expression completely drained of color. Andrew turned and saw her freezing in place. The entire scene grew painfully awkward. "Andrew," I said with a cold smile, "if you were man enough to admit you're just a scumbag who wants both the bowl and the pot, I might respect you a little more." I lifted my chin. "If you refuse to sign the divorce papers, I'll take it to court. Don't worry, I will divorce you." While the two of them stood stuck in their messy silence, I quickly flagged down a passing taxi. I yanked the door open, got in, and left without looking back. I found a clean hotel and checked in temporarily. There were less than 15 days left before I had to report to the medical rescue team. For the next 2 weeks, I was completely away from the suffocating prison of the Collins family. I could finally breathe freely. I finally had time to do the things I truly loved. I decided to make up for all the youth and freedom I had lost before. So I booked a plane ticket to a southern island and planned to enjoy myself for a while. After preparing everything, I grabbed my newly bought suitcase and headed straight to the airport. Before boarding, I deliberately dragged every number from the Collins family into my blacklist. This hard-earned vacation wasn't going to be ruined by those toxic people. I spent more than a week happily on that island, diving, surfing, and sunbathing on the beach until my skin warmed under the afternoon light. Not until I received a call from Mr. Hughes did I suddenly realize there were only 2 days left before I had to report to the rescue team. He told me he had already booked my ticket back, and that I needed to come to the hospital for the final handover. I returned to the hotel to drop off my luggage, then rushed straight to the hospital. But as soon as I reached the entrance, a strong hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. I turned around. It was Andrew. He looked noticeably worn out. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, exhausted. The moment he saw me, his dull gaze lit up with frantic joy. "Emily, it's really you. You don't know how long I've been looking for you. You blocked my number. I had no way of contacting you." As he spoke, his head lowered, his voice filled with a bitter laugh. "It wasn't until then that I realized once I couldn't reach you. I had no other way to find you. I don't know who your friends are, where you'd stay, anything at all. All these years I really didn't care enough about you. I didn't want him wasting even 1 minute of my time." I yanked my wrist free and said coldly, "Andrew Collins, did you forget I already gave you the divorce papers? Stop pretending to be sentimental. Nobody knows better than you how you truly treated me." I stepped forward to leave, but he rushed ahead to block my path. "Emily, give me another chance, please. My mom, because of the baby, her heart condition flared up and she was hospitalized. I've been taking care of her this whole time. Only now do I understand how hard things were for you before, how you took care of her when she was sick, then hurried home every afternoon to cook for my dad. Only today did I realize how much work you put into keeping our home together." Listening to him, I understood all too well what he really meant. He did look far more exhausted than usual. Without me, the free, obedient maid who handled every mess and every responsibility had fallen on him alone these past days. Of course he couldn't handle it. Every word he said seemed to be screaming the same message. "If you don't come back, I won't last much longer." I couldn't help but laugh. "What's wrong? You're suffering so much, but your beloved Rachel isn't helping lighten your burden." His expression darkened instantly. "Rachel? Rachel hasn't been feeling well lately." I nodded slowly, as if having an epiphany. "Ah, so she's the clever one. If I had known earlier, I should have pretended to be sick too. Then your family wouldn't have used me as unpaid labor for years." He was completely choked by my words. For a moment, Andrew had no way to refute me. His face turned pale, then flushed, then pale again. But he quickly recovered that ridiculous confidence of his. "But I know you," he said. "Look at you. You still came back today. You just can't bear to see me going through all this alone. Emily, I know you only brought up divorce because you were angry. I thought a lot these last few days. I promise I'll take better care of you from now on. Care more about you. Let's just make up. Okay, come home with me." I couldn't hold it in anymore. Everything boiling inside me finally erupted. I shouted, "Andrew Collins, get the hell away from me. Stop flattering yourself. Seeing you or anyone from your family makes me sick. If you want to keep even a shred of dignity, then don't stand in my way. I'm not here for you. I'm not here for your family. The world doesn't revolve around the Collins household. Stop acting like it does. Whether your parents are sick or dying is none of my business. Don't you dare drag me back into your mess again. If you have a conscience, take care of them yourself. If you don't, toss them out on the street and let fate handle the rest." Maybe he had never seen me like this. Furious and unrestrained, he froze for several seconds, eyes wide like brass bells. He finally stammered, "Then why are you at the hospital?" Suddenly, as if he'd realized something, he let out a long breath of relief, and his tone returned to that arrogant, lecturing superiority he always used. "If it's about being a doctor, stop dreaming. Going to the hospital every day doesn't make you one. You need talent for that." At that moment, a stern and familiar voice sounded behind me. "Emily, why haven't you come in yet? You still need to personally confirm the final documents for the rescue team." I turned around. Mr. Hughes and his assistant were standing a short distance away. I nodded at him. Sorry, I'm coming now. Then I turned back to Andrew one last time. Stay away from me. Don't bother me again. Rescue team? What rescue team? He asked, confused and chasing after me. What does that have to do with you? I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. I didn't even bother responding. I simply ran straight toward Mr. Hughes. I followed him into his office and confirmed the final set of documents. Then he took out a brand new medical relief pass and handed it to me with utmost formality. Emily, he said. On behalf of the International Medical Relief Team, I welcome you. The next morning, a young man in a camouflage uniform knocked on my hotel room door. He saluted me and said solemnly, Dr. Emily, I'm here to escort you. I followed him onto the plane. From that moment, I began my 3-year medical relief mission in a region torn apart by war. During those years, I witnessed countless deaths and countless miracles. Every time I successfully saved a patient and saw their smile after surviving near death, I felt nothing but genuine gratitude. Gratitude that the heavens had given me a chance to start over. And gratitude that I had not wasted this second chance on people who didn't deserve a second of my life. 3 years later, I received a call from Mr. Hughes. Emily, he said, there's an opportunity for advanced medical study at a top medical academy in Germany, but it will take 4 years. Are you willing to go? I glanced at the ruins behind me, the long line of injured patients waiting for treatment. My medical skills were still far from enough. Germany had one of the most advanced medical systems in the world. With systematic training there, my abilities would definitely improve even further. If going to Germany meant I could save more lives, then there was nothing to hesitate about. I agreed immediately. Just as I was about to hang up, Mr. Hughes suddenly paused, his tone turning hesitant. I frowned. Mr. Hughes, is there something else? Emily, he sighed. There's something I haven't told you. The day after you left, your ex-husband, since you'd already won the lawsuit, came to find me. He was like a madman, demanding to know where you'd gone. I felt a bit sorry for him at the time, so I told him. He seemed very upset, kept saying nonsense like impossible. She wouldn't leave me, and so on. He made a huge scene in my office, even smashed several of my favorite teacups. Eventually, he was dragged out by a woman named Rachel. I raised an eyebrow, surprised he even brought this up. At first, he continued, I thought he was genuinely heartbroken about you leaving, but a few months later, I heard that he'd started openly dating that woman, so I assumed the matter was over and never wanted to tell you. Didn't want it to affect your mood. Then Mr. Hughes suddenly lowered his voice, sounding almost gossipy. But a few days ago, I heard something big. I straightened slightly. That woman, Rachel, was arrested. And your ex-husband, Andrew Collins, was suspended from work. He's currently being taken in for investigation. I was stunned. Mr. Hughes spoke slowly, almost savoring every word. Turns out that Rachel was never a good person. She was a corporate spy from the start. She approached Andrew with ulterior motives, and that foolish Collins family treated her like treasure. Now Andrew not only lost his job, but he might also be facing prison. Honestly, good thing you divorced that idiot early. Otherwise, you'd be dragged down with him. I thought back carefully. In my past life before I died, none of this had happened. So, in that other life, Rachel had succeeded. A chill crept up my spine. But at least in this life, she'd been exposed. As for Andrew, he deserved everything coming to him. After finishing my remaining work, I flew straight to Germany and began my life as a student again. For years passed. Not too long, not too short. Every day was fulfilling. And I really did learn so much advanced medical knowledge I could never have accessed back home. On graduation day, I stood on stage as the representative of outstanding graduates and received the highest honor awarded by the Academy. My mentor told me I was the most talented doctor he had ever met. In the blink of an eye, 7 full years had passed since the day I fled in disgrace. Mr. Hughes contacted me again, inviting me to return home. He was getting older and he said, Emily, you are the most outstanding and most promising student I've ever taught. The hospital will be in good hands with you. On my first day as the new hospital director, after finishing the morning meeting, my assistant walked with me toward the director's office. As we passed the inpatient department, a familiar yet trembling voice suddenly called out, Emily. I turned back and came face to face with Mr. and Mrs. Collins, their aging faces full of shock and disbelief. "It's really you," Mrs. Collins cried. Her whole body trembled as if she might collapse. She tried to rush toward me. "Where have you been all these years? Why didn't you contact us? We searched everywhere, nearly went mad." My assistant immediately stepped in and blocked her. "Ma'am, please calm down. Don't get agitated." But Mrs. Collins shoved his arm away and yelled angrily, "She's my daughter-in-law. It's none of your business. Move." Behind Mrs. Collins, a security guard in uniform rushed over and quickly held her back. "Ma'am, you just had surgery," the doctor said. "You can't get emotional." When I lifted my eyes, they met another pair. Tired, sunken, aged. Even though he had grown thinner, even though time had carved exhaustion into every line of his face, I recognized him instantly. Andrew Collins. 7 years had passed, yet in that one glance I knew it was him. He recognized me too. My presence stunned him completely. Shock, shame, and panic flashed across his eyes before he quickly lowered his head and turned away, not daring to look at me again. But Mrs. Collins kept shouting behind the security guard, calling toward me over and over. "My daughter-in-law! My daughter-in-law!" My assistant stepped forward again, polite yet firm. "Ma'am, this is our newly appointed director, Emily Collins. She is not your daughter-in-law. Please show some respect." Hearing that, Andrew turned back stiffly. He slowly lifted his head, staring blankly at me. After a long moment, he finally muttered in disbelief, "Emily, you really became a doctor." I nodded at my assistant to step aside, then walked toward them. I extended my hand to Andrew with a calm expression. "It's been a long time." He froze for several seconds before forcing out a smile uglier than crying. He reached out, his cold fingertips barely brushing my hand. "It has been a long time no see, Director Collins." After settling Mrs. Collins back into her ward, Andrew and I went to a nearby cafe outside the hospital. He told me his father had passed away 2 years ago. Mrs. Collins had a heart attack and was hospitalized soon after. At that same time, Andrew had been taken in for questioning because of Rachel's espionage case. His father had been the only person left at home and fell down the stairs. No one noticed until hours later when a neighbor finally called the police. By the time Andrew was released, it was already too late. After that, he said, voice low and hoarse, "My mom's health just went downhill. She had surgery recently, but the doctor says the prognosis isn't good. They say she might not have much time left. Her mind isn't great anymore either. She forgets things, forgets people. That's why she kept calling you daughter-in-law just now. Don't take it to heart." He lowered his head, covering his face with his rough hands. His shoulders trembled slightly. "Emily, I really regret everything. If only I'd treated you better. If only I hadn't brought Rachel home. Maybe everything today would have been different." I lifted my cup of black coffee, took a small sip of its sharp bitterness, then spoke evenly. "Andrew, you're not actually sorry for what you did to me. You're just miserable now. Your life is falling apart. So, you regret losing the person who carried all the burdens for you. Your regret comes from your selfishness, not guilt." I set the cup down and stood up. "Since that's the case, there's nothing left for us to talk about. The coffee's already paid for." He shot up from his seat and grabbed my wrist. "No, Emily. Please listen. I'm truly sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to say it to you myself." I smiled, but there wasn't a trace of warmth in it. "I don't need your apology. And Andrew, stop thinking you matter so much. After leaving you and the Collins family, I finally realized how big the world really is. There are so many things worth doing. Before, I was stupid trapping myself inside the tiny little world you drew around me. And whenever you threw me a tiny bit of kindness, I thought I should be grateful." My voice became steady, unwavering. "I lost myself in that house for 7 years. But thankfully, I chose not to keep making that mistake. I had created an entirely new world of possibilities and surprises for my own life." Without listening to another word from him, I walked out of that cafe without looking back, leaving behind all his regret and pain. Andrew Collins and I had long since stopped walking the same path. The past could stay buried where it belonged.